It is raining a lot. It's only a tropical storm now, and it's like, I'm not even that close to it. Gosh. Okay, anyway. So we're going to continue with our reading today of this little book, the Consensus Handbook, okay? Cooperative Decision-Making for Activists, Co-ops, and Communities by Seeds for Change here, okay? That's what we're going to continue with. It looks like we left off, we're going to start with Chapter 3 today. If you grab the free PDF from the link that I pinned to the top of the chat from their website, it'll be on page 60 of the PDF. So that's where we'll be starting. Right here. Yeah, I added Miku to every fucking scene of my overlay today, except for a couple. But Miku is very important. Okay, gosh. Share your favorite Miku songs in chat, everybody. Okay. Chapter 3. Facilitating consensus in large groups. Alright. Trying to find consensus in a large group brings its own challenges and rewards. The conditions for good consensus still apply, but might be harder to achieve in a bigger, more diverse group. You should go through the same process you usually use to reach consensus, but remember each step may take longer and require some specialized facilitation tools. Consensus requires active participation from everyone, much harder to achieve in a large group of people. But when it's working, consensus in large groups can be exhilarating and inspiring. Below you'll find lots of tips for making consensus work in large groups, including an outline of the Spokes Council, which has been used successfully by groups of hundreds and thousands of people. In this chapter, we focus on how to make consensus decisions in large groups, but many of the tools we explain can be used not just for making decisions, but also to share information and ideas. Bear in mind that in any organization or network, decisions are usually easiest and best made by the people directly affected by them. No shit. Make sure that you're not dealing with questions in a large group that can and should be dealt with at a lower level. Alright, meeting the conditions for consensus in large groups. Consensus in large groups poses particular challenges. Large groups can make it more difficult for less assertive people to participate. Not everyone is comfortable speaking in front of a large meeting, being easily dominated by a confident few, and have a slower pace and lower energy than smaller groups, taking longer to reach decisions. Extra care needs to be taken to ensure that the conditions for consensus are met. Group members must share a common goal, be willing to build trust and respect, and be able to actively participate in a clear and well-facilitated process. You may wish to have a look at the section on conditions for consensus back in Chapter 1, which we read in the last streams. Just go to the last stream. Page 12. Common goal. Whether it's a national campaign network or a temporary group coming together for a mass protest, in any large group of people, you need to be clear. Oh, pardon me. You need to be clear why and to what extent you are working together. The Occupy movement, starting in 2011, generally made little attempt at finding common aims between those involved. It was accepted that there would be at least as many goals as there were individuals in the movement, something which inevitably make the common goal condition, and therefore consensus, impossible to achieve at times. Often, and particularly in more traditional groups, a smaller founding group of people decide in advance what the overarching aims of the group will be, and then invite people to participate on that basis. This way, you can still tweak the aims with the whole group later, but you'll all be starting from a similar place. Other groups and networks may start with a blank piece of paper and work on the aims together, which can take a lot of time and patience, but enables full participation in the process. Once agreed, a written statement of the aims and workings of the group serves as a reminder and can be used to bring in new members up to speed, so that both the new members and the existing group are sure that everyone is working towards the same goals. Make sure you explain to new people what's already been decided and what is still open to discussion. It also helps to run introductory sessions where new people can find out what the group is all about and decide whether it's the right group for them. If you can't find enough common ground, you may consider splitting into several groups and continuing to work together as a network on the points you do agree on. Coalitions and alliances formed between pre-existing groups, for example to fight a specific issue, can find it difficult to reach consensus. Often the groups involved have different aims and ways of working, and some may not be committed to consensus, but are more interested in pushing their politics on everyone else. This can easily happen if one of the groups in a coalition is or has been involved in more mainstream ways of organizing. Lobbying before meetings is often seen as acceptable, but can make it difficult for people to actively listen to each other and to be honest about their own positions. Don't forget that, above all, consensus does not mean agreeing on everything or having unanimity. Whenever possible, encourage a wide range of different actions which work towards your agreed aims. Trust is more difficult to achieve in large groups as it's harder to get to know one another. Spend time discussing aims, people's politics, and motivations. Social time is important too. Build in ways for new people to get to know at least some of the people in the group quickly. A clear decision-making process will help people to trust that they will be heard and respected in the final decision. Clear process. If you're going to work by consensus, it's vital that you explain to everyone the basics of how it works. Take time at the beginning of each meeting to explain the agenda, how decisions are made, and how to participate. Run regular workshops in consensus and facilitation. Use flipcharts to write up the consensus flowchart, the agenda, key points of the discussion, and key decisions, and put them up around the room so that everyone can see them. Large meetings need more preparation and planning. Often a tight structure will be useful, however this can also be overly restrictive. Try to strike a balance between structure and open flow. Work out which items need to be discussed and agreed by everyone and which can be delegated to smaller groups. Time. Allow extra time for large group meetings so that people feel there's been adequate discussion and an opportunity for people to express and hear all ideas. Cutting off discussion and forcing a decision will leave lots of people feeling disempowered and frustrated. Facilitation. You'll need a facilitation team that is seen as impartial and who know exactly what job they're doing. Someone to facilitate, someone to take hands, someone to write up notes on a flip chart, maybe a separate timekeeper and a doorkeeper, someone to prepare refreshments. Alright, processes for large groups. Decisions made in large groups can be inspiring, collectively coming to good decisions and seeing that everyone supports the agreement reached. Oh. However, to make this possible, thought needs to go into how to adapt the process to deal with challenges that larger groups throw up. The 6 steps for reaching consensus are the same as for small groups, but some steps may happen with everyone together and other steps may happen in small groups to enable in-depth discussion and participation. Processes developed for large groups include delegation, large plenaries, splitting into small groups, and the spokes council. Usually a combination of processes is needed for a smooth and successful large meeting. Delegation and accountability. Some issues are important enough that everyone should be involved in the discussion and decision-making. However, large groups of people have a tendency to micromanage all work due to a lack of trust or imagination, leading to every single detail being worked out in the large group. But does it really need everyone to discuss the exact wording of the news release or the order of bands for the benefit gig? Yeah, everyone's gotta... Look, y'all, I just think that Cannibal Corpse should be the headline. Everyone needs to agree on this, okay? I'm leaving the group if we don't decide on that. Alright, let's see here. A good rule of thumb is that decisions should only involve those that are affected by it. Make decisions on policy or framework in the whole group, and delegate the implementation and detail to working groups. Trust people to work in the spirit of the group and the agreements you've made together. This way you can save everyone lots of time and frustration. Accountability is an important factor in building trust. It also makes it more difficult to accumulate power and avoids corruption. Both are common... Oh, ATS, I didn't even see that you said Happy Mikimas earlier. I'm sorry. Hello, Cannibal Corpse says to share a stage with Miley Cyrus. At the same time, let's do it, sure. Build in regular report backs so that the whole group is kept informed about the work subgroups are doing and that they're both accurately representing their group and acting within their mandate. Large plenaries. Large group plenaries where the whole group comes together in one place can be used to share information, to make proposals, and for final decision making. However, plenaries are much less useful for discussions that involve everyone. Large group discussions tend to be dominated by a few confident people. Most people won't feel confident enough to speak in front of hundreds of people. There are also time constraints. Giving everyone just 3 minutes to speak in a meeting of 200 people would take at least 10 hours. Sounds great. Plenaries are also limited by numbers, too large, and people won't be able to hear and see each other or even fit into one room. Just get a bigger room. I don't see this. Use a stadium. I don't know. If you do hold a large plenary meeting, then consider how to increase access and participation. You can limit the number of times a person can speak and give preference to those who haven't yet spoken. To help with clarity, summarize regularly and write up keywords for everyone to see. Make sure everyone can hear each other. This might require some system of amplification or relaying. Anyone here comfortable speaking in front of groups of hundreds of people? I've done it before. I don't think I was very comfortable with it. And Twitch doesn't count, by the way. That's different. And thousands of people listening to my voice acting work also does not count, because I'm just talking to the microphone when that's happening. Working in small groups. The advantages of splitting into small groups for discussion are that they create safer, more dynamic spaces to work in and include more people in the discussion. People will be much more comfortable talking openly in a small group of 6 to 15 people. Working in small groups also saves time, particularly if each group discusses a different element of the topic in parallel. Working in small groups usually begins with the whole group starting to discuss the issue, sharing information, highlighting problems, and drawing up a list of possible ideas. Then people split into small groups to discuss the ideas and come up with more. You can either ask each group to explore all the ideas, or each group could take away just one idea to examine it in depth. The small groups return to the main forum and report back, highlighting possible obstacles to each idea. If full group discussion cannot resolve the obstacles, small groups can go away to try to find ways to solve the problem. They report back, and this process continues until the obstacles are overcome, a proposal is formed, and a decision is made. I think the most, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out, like, what's the most, like, nervous I've ever gotten in front of a bunch of people. I'm trying to think. Like performing or speaking. I've sang in front of like a good 100-something people before. That was a little bit nerve-wracking. That was a bit much. It's years ago, oh my god. I'm used to performing in front of lots of people. I've performed at the halftime show of the Sugar Bowl once, back in the old Superdome in New Orleans. Oh boy, let's see here. Where were we? Probably, okay. I'm going to read from this paragraph. Some people resist small group work. It requires trust to let other people go away and discuss an issue, and that trust isn't always present. Some people just like having a larger audience. Others struggle to choose between working groups. To reassure people and to make sure that ideas and points don't get lost, it's important to have a well-functioning feedback process. It is good to explain that feedback will happen, give groups guidelines on good feedback, and to set aside some time for the small group to agree what to feedback to the large group. This process is still limited by size, as it involves some plenary discussions. The Spokes Council process below expands on the idea of breaking up into smaller groups to enable decision-making on a much larger scale. The Spokes Council. The Spokes Council enables large numbers of people to work together democratically, permitting the maximum number of opinions and ideas to be heard in an efficient way. It allows consensus decisions with hundreds, even thousands of people, such as at the G8 Horizon camp, I don't know, in Scotland. In 2005, anti-nuclear castor mobilizations in Germany and various camps for climate action. It is used successfully by many groups such as social centers, workers' co-ops, peace, and environmental movements. How it works. In a Spokes Council, the meeting breaks up into smaller groups, which start by discussing the issues to come up with concerns and ideas. If a small group can reach agreement on a preferred proposal or develop some guidance on what would be acceptable to the group, they may speed up the process, but it isn't always possible. Each group then sends their spokesperson, to the Spokes Council meeting to present the breadth of their ideas and concerns of their group, plus any proposals and ideas. The spokes together look for one or more proposals that they think might be acceptable to all groups and then take these back to their own groups for discussion and amendments. Each small group checks whether there is an agreement, which is then reported back to the Spokes Council by the spokes to check whether there is an agreement by all, or if not, to draw up new proposals. The power to make decisions lies firmly with the small groups, not the spokes. Roles within the Spokes Council. Small groups are often based around the pre-existing groups, such as work teams within a business or organization, local groups within a national network, or affinity groups on a mass action. Alternatively, a large group might split into smaller groups just for the duration of one meeting, in which case groups can be created entirely randomly, or by grouping people around something they have in common, such as a shared language or living in the same area. The spoke's role is to feed back information between the small group and the council. The spoke needs to act as a voice for everyone within the small group, communicating the breadth of collective thought rather than their own personal point of view. Being the spoke carries a lot of responsibility to represent information accurately and not to manipulate the process. Generally, spokes do not make decisions for their group. They will always check back for agreement before a decision is finalized. However, an individual small group may choose to empower their spoke to take decisions within agreed parameters. For a spokes council to work effectively and democratically, everyone needs to be clear about the role of the spoke and how much power the group has given their spoke. It's very easy for a spoke. Will you stop saying spoke without even noticing? To represent their own view rather than the group's. Ideas can get lost or misrepresented in the transmission between small groups and the Spokes Council. Informal hierarchies may develop if it is always the same person acting as spoke. To avoid these problems, you could appoint two smokes, one to present viewpoints and proposals from their small group, the second taking notes of what other groups have to say. Spokes can be rotated from meeting to meeting or agenda item to agenda item. You all know I like rotation of roles, okay? The facilitation team. Good facilitation is key for a successful spokes council. It's a fairly complex process, so you'll need a team of people to keep an overview and help small groups and spokes when they get stuck. As well as being accepted as impartial, the facilitators will need to be able to spot emerging agreements and potential sticking points. Being skilled at synthesizing a large number of proposals and keeping the meeting focused are a definite bonus. You'll need a team of at least 4 facilitators who work well together. One facilitator to facilitate the spokes council, one for writing up the discussion on flip charts and looking for possible agreement, another to watch out for the time and the general mood of the meeting. Finally, you'll also need someone to take minutes. Isn't that the timekeeper's job? I'm sorry. It's apparently like 119 or something like that. 118, something like that right now. According to my watch, 117. My watch runs a tiny bit fast. I need to fix it. I need to regulate it. Okay. Allow small groups enough time for discussion. If small groups struggle to come to an agreement without a reasonable time, the spoke can feed back the whole breadth of opinion within the group. I think, is the timekeeper like Miki from Utena? Hold on. You know what I'm talking about? Getting the same time as a phone, though. Well, because I looked. Hold on. Hold on. Let me get a picture of our boy. Okay, our good boy. Mickey here. Mickey. However you want to say it. It's both. No, not him holding a knife up to his sister's throat. That's not what I'm looking for. God. He has an interesting relationship with his sister. There's a lot of interesting sibling relationships going on in this show. Anyway, this is our boy. You notice he has a stopwatch, okay? He has a stopwatch. Anyway, so your group needs to have a twink with the stopwatch, okay? That's one of the facilitators. It's a very important role, okay? In groups with international participants or those who use sign language, you might need to allow time for translation. Check in advance so that you can arrange for translators. Okay. Hold on. My nose itches, and I don't know if there's like some snot on it, so I'm afraid to scratch it and then get a bunch of snot on my finger, which would be kind of gross, so I'm scratching it with through a tissue. Okay. Case study. Spokes Councils in Practice. Radical Roots is a UK-wide mutual aid network of co-ops which uses the Spokes Council structure for their business meetings. These usually take place 4 times a year. An agenda for each meeting is sent out beforehand so that member co-ops can discuss the agenda items and tell their representative how to respond to proposals in the meeting. Representatives may have a remit of what's okay to agree to and when they have to go back to their co-op for instruction. If a new proposal comes or a proposal is changing during the course of the meeting, people may feel that their co-op will be okay with it or that they should check back with their co-op. If there are any changes to the proposal, even if agreed by the reps, it does not become a policy until it is ratified at the next meeting, giving a chance for everybody in each member co-op to be aware of and agree to the changes. I have a proposal for a new policy, everyone. Everyone gets free hormones. Everyone. The stages of the consensus process for large groups. Oh boy. Okay, so we've got a diagram. It's a whole flowcharty thing. I don't know why it goes back and forth so much. Okay, so there's... I see. There's 3 sections here, okay? On the left side, we have all the discussions in the Spokes Council. In the middle, we have feedback that the spokes give, okay? And then on the right side, we have all the discussions and decisions being made in the small groups. Step 1. Introduce and clarify the issues to be decided. I guess this is what you do at the big group meeting or whatever. Share relevant information. Work out the key what the key questions are. This step can either happen with the whole group together, okay, or with just the spokes and the Spokes Council who then feed back to small groups, okay. So some way or another, get everyone to know what the deal is and what needs to be discussed and what needs to be decided. Got it. Okay. Step 2. Now break into your small groups and explore the issue and look for ideas. Gather initial thoughts and reactions. What are the issues and concerns? 2. Collect ideas for solving the problem. Write them down. 3. Have a broad-ranging discussion and debate the ideas. What are the pros and cons? Start to think about solutions to the concerns. Eliminate some ideas and shortlist others. Okay, then the spokesperson brings feedback, ideas, and concerns to the spokes council. In the spokes council, then you will look for emerging proposals. If there's one idea or a series of ideas that brings together the best qualities of what have been discussed, look for a solution that everyone might agree on and create a proposal. Then the spokesperson goes back to their small groups and gives them the feedback on the ideas, concerns, and proposals from other groups. Then back in the small groups, you discuss, clarify, and amend a proposal, taking into account all the other groups' positions as well as those within your own group. Ensure that any remaining concerns are heard and that everyone has a chance to contribute. Look for amendments that make the proposals even more acceptable to the whole group. Okay, then the small group tests for agreement. Check for blocks, stand-asides, and reservations, and active agreement. Then the spokesperson feeds back the position of each small group to the spokes council, and the spokes council checks if a decision has been reached. If it hasn't, you go back to step 3 here and look for new proposals again. And if it has been reached, then you're done. Implement the decision. Decide who will do what it needs to be done by, or when it needs to be done by, and if necessary, how it should be done. Okay. All right. Example, a spokes council in detail. The following example outlines the consensus process for a spokes council. The groups in this example go through this process looking at one issue at a time, since this is the simplest way to do it. However, to speed things up, the groups could have decided to take several issues at once. Also, steps 1 and 2 can take place in advance within the individual small groups. So the question is, shall several groups join together in some kind of network or alliance? Alright, step 1. As a whole group, introduce and clarify the issue. The facilitators will explain consensus and spokes council process to the assembled small groups. Are these all different people, or are they all the same person talking? Sorry.
We're going to be using consensus decision-making between all the groups here today. Consensus is a way of making decisions together in a way that everyone is happy with the outcome. To reach a decision, everyone has to get their consent for a proposal to be passed. We'll be using the following process to discuss items on the agenda.
My throat is still fucked up. Hold on. Alright, then describe the process to be used, including ways of agreeing and disagreeing, and the roles of the facilitators.
We'll be communicating with each other using the spokes council system. At each stage of the discussion, we'll nominate someone from the group to be a spoke for us, and someone to be our note taker in the spokes council. Our spoke won't make decisions for us, just explain to the other spokes what we've agreed on in this group. Then the note taker will observe and take notes so everyone will know what is being said in the spokes council, and this leaves our spoke free to concentrate on representing our views accurately. The spokes council will listen to all the views and decisions from the groups and possibly make some proposals on how to move towards a common decision. When they've done this, our spoken note taker will come back to us and tell us where other groups are at about any suggestions or proposals from the spokes council. We'll think about this, come to some decisions or make some suggestions, and then send our spoken note taker back to the spokes council again. This will go on until we all reach consensus.
I'm sorry. The facilitators introduce the issue to be decided and give or ask someone else to give all the necessary information for making an informed decision. Make time for clarification. Okay, so then the facilitators will clearly define the questions for decision. I'm not doing it again. So we're deciding on whether all the groups here today are going to join together in some kind of alliance. Everyone here today is working on migrant support in our city, and so far we've all agreed that by working together on publicity and fundraising, that's song, fundraising, we can have a bigger impact. So now the question is how we want to work with the other groups that are here today on those two areas, on publicity and funding. Sorry, my throat is like not wanting to clear, which did not help when I was trying to do the femme voice thing. In small groups. Step 2. Explore the issue and look for ideas. Alright. Everyone voices their initial thoughts and reactions. What are the issues and concerns arising from the matter? You could use tools such as go-rounds or paired listening in the small groups to ensure everyone is heard.
Let's do a go-round to hear everyone's initial views on this.
If the issue raises strong emotions or impacts very strongly on the people involved, it is very helpful to take a break from the small group and use the spokes council for feeding back the concerns between the different groups so that everyone can take other groups' views into account when discussing ideas. Okay, so far we've heard some strong views on fundraising. We discussed these issues and decided that our group would only be happy with a network-wide funding bid if it complies with the ethical standards of all the groups in the network. Oh god, don't let the vegans take over. Gosh. We should feed that into the spokes council meeting so that everyone else can consider it. Next, move on to coming up with the ideas for possible solutions in your small groups. Use tools like go-rounds or idea storms, which we'll find out what the fuck those are in Chapter 6. Okay. Well, can we talk about this? We're only happy if it complies with the ethical standards of all the groups in the network. Something. God damn it. Okay, so let's think about this. The ethical standards of all the groups in the network. Who are the groups in the network? What if some of them are like SWRFs or something? Like, they're definitely going to have some different ethical standards, you know. Just saying. First of all, don't work with them. So, God, hold on. Can we talk about my arms? Do my arms look really good, or is it just? Are we doing? Sorry. I had a really hard workout today. Okay, or yesterday. I'm proud of myself. Oh my god. Okay. Alright, let's see here. Next up, move on to coming up with ideas for possible solutions in your small groups. Use tools like go-rounds or idea storms. Right. Okay. Then the small groups discuss the ideas that they've come up with. What are the pros and cons? Some ideas get discarded at this stage and new ideas may be formed. Okay, so we've let everyone know that there may be an issue about fundraising. While they're considering that, let's have a think about how the network can do with fundraising in a way that everyone can be happy with. Number 3, in the Spokes Council, look for emerging proposals. The facilitators call the spokes to the Spokes Council. Here, each spoke takes a turn to present the views of their group, covering the breadth of ideas and concerns as well as possible ways forward. We've heard from the various spokes about the variety of opinions on the fundraising issue. Some groups have quite strict ethical criteria on which grants and funds they want to apply for, and others are quite relaxed about it all. So far, it doesn't seem that anyone is opposed to the idea of limiting our funding options, at least for grant applications made in the name of this network. Let's check back with our groups that this is the case, now that everyone is actually happy to have some kind of commonly agreed restriction on funding applications. If that is the case, then we can start working out our agreement on how to actually do it. Okay, we've all checked in with our groups, and everyone is happy with the idea of making some kind of agreement on who we can apply to for funding and what for. Does anyone have any ideas from our groups to share? Yes, I have an idea. We could sell cocaine to, like, the mafia or something for funding. No, I don't think this is going to conflict with anybody's ethics, right? This is a perfectly acceptable idea. And not dangerous in any way. Like somebody said, I don't know who, somebody I saw recently, maybe in some Discord, crime, like many other things, gets less cool the more organized it is. Okay, let's see here. The spokes then have a discussion to try and incorporate the various possible ideas into one synthesized proposal, or the facilitators might spot possible areas of agreement. Discord? Oh no, what? What? Yeah, I'm in a few Discord servers. Yeah, I know. I'm the enemy of the proletariat. I'm sorry. I'm bourgeois. I'm sorry. During this process, the spokes may call timeout to confer with their group for clarification or to see whether a modified proposal would be acceptable to them. 4. In small groups, discuss, clarify, and amend proposals. The spokes report back to their groups on the discussion, and the smokes council. That's terrifying. What's wrong? What's wrong with hanging out with a few people on fucking Discord? I don't know. I'm in a few Discords. I'm in several Discords actually. I'm in some that are for like software development for particular things that I use, so I can get the latest versions of shit and report bugs and stuff like that. I have, and like get support, and then I have just like one that's run by one of my friends from my hometown that I run a Minecraft server with him, so like we have our own server for that, for like this stuff and whatnot, or like gaming group from my hometown. Okay, and then I'm just in like a few streamers Discords, I guess, and like a bunch of, I'm in like 3 different Love Live Discords. Gotta have that. Can't even judge that after GitHub got caught. Yeah, a lot of people will use GitHub just for the repository stuff, but then do everything else, like all the support and stuff and whatever on Discord servers, which is honestly, I hate it. I hate that I have to join a fucking Discord server to like see all of their shit. I actually don't like that at all. But yes, GitHub getting bought by Microsoft does suck. I wanted to... I need to dilute my tea. I accidentally overbrewed it. Shame. Shame. I brewed my tea too hard. Okay. Anyway. Okay, let's see here. So we're discussing the proposals. Okay, in the small groups, the spokes report back to the groups on the discussion in the spokes council and present the concerns of the other groups plus possible proposals. So, the suggestion from the spokes council is that we set up a subgroup to check in with each group in the network and come up with a proposed funding policy for us all to agree at the meeting next month. What do we think about that in our group? God, my nose is so irritated. Oh my god, what is it? Why is it doing that? I need to dust in here probably. That's the rivers. I don't know what it is. Anyway. Okay, right, so we're going to suggest a modification to the proposal. We think that the policy shouldn't be set in stone, but needs to develop as the network grows to reflect any changes in the groups. So we suggest that a working group looks at the policy at least once a year and brings any proposed changes to a full meeting for consideration by all the groups. Okay. Step 5, test for agreement in the small groups. Check for blocks, stand-asides, reservations, and active agreement. If there are major concerns about a proposal, try to come up with ideas on how it can be resolved for your group. Work out the range of proposals that would be acceptable to your group. We're happy with the idea of the funding policy being reviewed regularly, but are worried that it'll always be the same people doing that, so they may not be representative of all the groups in the network. So we'd be happy with anything being A, people on the funding policy are regularly chosen in some way, such as chosen at random or agreed by everyone, or B, every group is represented in some way on that working group. Alright. 6. In the Spokes Council, check whether a decision has been reached. Spokes meet back at the Spokes Council and facilitators check whether groups agree. If not all groups agree, the discussion continues and new proposals are formulated using the information about what alternatives groups will be willing to agree to. Right, so no group has a problem with the funding policy group having a shifting membership, but some groups are worried that selecting people might take up a lot of time if it is done in a network-wide meeting. So the proposal to take back our group to our groups is that each group nominates one of the members to be in the policy group. Alright. 7. In small groups or the whole group, implement the decision. Oh. Alright. Variations of a spokes council. Fishbowl. To make the spokes council more accountable and reduce the need for repeating information, it can take place in the fishbowl format. See the graphic. Yes, with the groups sitting in an outer circle around the spokes. Each group sits directly behind their spoke, which makes it easier for the spoke to quickly check back with their group. Just as in other forms of the spokes council, only the spokes should speak, apart from in small group discussion time. Tiered spokes councils. Even spokes council meetings are limited in size. When there are more than 20 to 40 spokes or small groups, another tier might be needed. In this case, each spokes council sends a spoke to a second or even third level spokes council. With this number of people, it becomes even more important to think carefully about which decisions actually need to be made by everyone and which can be left to individual groups. Each additional tier adds more time to the process. This can work for many thousands of people, for example 9,000 people involved in the blockade at Castor Nuclear Waste Transport in 1997. However, quite often the tiered spokes council is used as a channel for information and consultation rather than being used for actual decision making. Long-distance spokes councils. Where there are groups of people in different locations, they can use the spokes council model for long-distance decision-making. Rather than all members or all groups converging in one place to make a decision, groups can discuss the issue at home and then send a spoke to a meeting. The spokes come back with a proposal that the groups either accept or amend. The problem here is that of time delay. There are two ways around this. Groups can be meeting in their hometowns at the same time as all the spokes are meeting. The spokes ring or email any emerging proposals to the groups for discussion and feedback. The second option is that spokes talk to each other on the phone or via internet chat and email. This needs good facilitation and the use of appropriate online tools. See chapter 4, apparently. Okay. Chapter 4. Oh boy. Who could have guessed chapter 4 would come right after chapter big stretch. Okay, chapter 4, facilitating consensus in virtual meetings. Meetings can be quite challenging, and if you're not all in the same place, they can be harder still. If you can't see each other or the facilitator, you'll be missing out on the non-verbal cues you'd normally be able to pick up through body language. This doesn't work if any member of your group is autistic. I think I already pointed that out last time. Can't wait for the vibes checker, the appointed vibes checker of the group to constantly be yelling at me for having the wrong body language. Your vibe just seems off, I don't know. This makes it harder to build trust and respect in the group. To make such meetings work, everyone needs to work harder to express themselves clearly and to understand each other. Is it really that hard to just say what you mean? Hey, allistic people, I have a question. Have you ever thought of just saying what you mean instead of saying shit that you don't mean and expecting everyone to read your fucking mind? Anyway, why have virtual meetings? Gee, I don't fucking know. It's almost like I don't want to travel across the goddamn country. For most of us, the easiest way to discuss and decide on an issue is when we're in the same place and are all able to see and hear each other. No thanks. But this isn't always possible. Perhaps someone is working away from home but still wants to be involved, or your group might be made up of people from different countries. Perhaps you're sharing a project with another group that isn't based locally. If you still want everyone to be able to participate in your decision making, then you need to find a way to communicate with each other. We're calling this a virtual meeting. Especially with the allistics, yeah, exactly. I guess I should have put the Miku a little bit below the chat so that people can see the There we go. Now the chat is above the Miku. I put it right in the chat spot. My bad. Okay, let's see here. In this chapter, we'll be exploring some options for how to make decisions online and using the phone. We've included some pros and cons of the various options and suggested a process for reaching consensus remotely. Please do not make me use the phone. Do you have any idea how incredibly hard it is for me to understand anything that anybody is saying on the phone, okay? My auditory processing is bad enough already. I don't need, like, the phone quality audio. God. Chat not visible anyway. No, it's visible. It's on top of Miku. I can see it on stream right there. I'm looking. It's right there. It's on top of Miku on the right side, right above my face. I'll post a bunch of emojis. Okay. See? It's over there. It was just underneath Miku before, that's why you didn't see it. I had to move it. I had to switch them around. Okay. The tools for the job. Okay. There are a couple of tools that are good for many different types of jobs. Okay. Fire is a great tool for many jobs, okay? Just set shit on fire. Miku. Oh my god. Knives, very useful, okay? Tool for many types of jobs. Rocks, okay? You can throw rocks at things, that's useful. You can also use rocks to weigh things down. You can use them as paperweights, I guess. What are other useful tools? Scissors are useful. You can cut things with scissors. Might not be as fun as cutting them with a knife, though. Cane is a very, very useful tool for many things. Walking, it can help you walk. You can also hit people with it in self-defense, or as part of impact play. Also, this one is cold. It's aluminum, so you can use it for cold play too. Am I allowed to talk about that on stream? Probably. I hope I can. Come on, don't be such prudes, Twitch mods. Don't do that to me. Okay, let's see here. Before we talk about how to facilitate virtual meetings, we'll take a short look at what communications media are available. Lots of the tools you can use to hold virtual meetings are based on the internet. Ew. We tried to talk about these tools in a general way because technology and software changes so quickly that what we write here will soon be out of date. We should communicate through NFTs. I'm kidding. But we've included some examples. Since most people know the name of the software they use rather than the type of communication it is. Oh dear lord. End users. They're right though. They're right. Most people are end users. Where did the internet go? And they're wondering where the Internet Explorer icon went on their desktop, not where the internet went. They have internet. It's there. It's fine. You gotta change, if you install Firefox on someone's computer, you gotta change the icon on the shortcut on their desktop. Change the Firefox icon to like Chrome so that they still know how to open their web browser. Okay, good trick. Alright, let's see here. Chat. Real-time text-based messages over the internet, including IRC and instant messaging, like MSN, IRC, AIM. Who the fuck uses AIM still? Pigeon. Collaborative real-time editors. Software that allows more than one user to simultaneously edit a document, like Etherpad, PiratePad, and Google Drive. Email. Sending digital messages to one or more recipients in non-real time. Microblogging, a way to broadcast short messages to others. Twitter, identi.ca, Identica. Tumblr is technically a microblogging website, but there's no real limit on the post length, so it's not actually microblogging, but it kind of is at the same time. Okay, post/mail. Sending old-fashioned letters through the postal service. Telephone, whether mobile or landline, also radio. voice messages, leaving a message on something like an answer phone, or sending voice recordings via the internet or post. Oh my god, just fucking text me. VoIP. Strictly speaking, part of the telephone service, but here we just use it to mean voice communications using computers other than just telephones, like Skype, Mumble, or Google Talk. Who uses any of these days? Wiki, a website on which users can add, modify, or delete content using a web browser, such as we.riseup.net. That's their example, apparently. Pros and cons of using these tools are discussed below. I like this illustration. Yep. That's what it's like to facilitate consensus in virtual meetings, apparently. Okay. Challenges of facilitating virtual meetings. It's structured like microblogging, but forgot to limit people. You can't treat it like MySpace. You can't, it's not just like MySpace, okay? Like, you can't have the amazing, flashing, Naruto-themed MySpace page like I did, okay? That was so cool in middle school for that. Anyway. You can theme your blog, actually, though. Now that I think about it, you actually can do that. I'm not very smart. You can do that. I forgot that blog themes are a thing. You can theme your blog. And if you're smart with CSS, you can inject extra stuff into the... Like, I don't know if you can make your own theme. I mean, you can edit the HTML of your theme, if your blog's theme directly. Yeah, you can. You can totally do that. It is just like MySpace now that I think about it. Holy shit. There are some things that it might block or whatever. I'm not sure how it works, but it is actually just like that now that I think about it. You can literally just edit the HTML directly. Oh my god. Mine, I just use like a pre-made theme, okay? You can go to blog.mixlilith.gay, okay? And you'll go, that's my, my Tumblr blog, okay? Right there. I have my own, yes, I got a .gay domain for that, yes. Alright, anyway. I guess the thing about Tumblr is that since most of what everyone does on Tumblr is reblogging other people's shit, which is kind of just like retweeting, but with their Tumblr blog posts instead of tweets. So it's kind of like a hybrid between a blog and how Twitter works, I guess. Most people just reblog shit most of the time. Barely anyone actually posts. I don't know how posts even exist on Tumblr, honestly. How does anyone make an original post? You don't. You just reblog something else from someone else. Nobody makes an original post. They just appear out of the ether, and then you reblog it. Anyway. Alright, let's see here. Okay. Facilitation is about helping a group to have an efficient and inclusive meeting. Facilitating a virtual meeting is a bit more challenging than a meeting where everyone is physically present, but relevant tools and a bit of practice should make it easier. Trust and understanding. When we phone, chat, email, or collaborate on an online document, it's very easy. They're born on Reddit. No. Sometimes people do post Reddit screenshots there, mostly just to make fun of Reddit, though. When we phone, chat, email, or collaborate on an online document, it's very easy to lose sight of the fact that we're dealing with other humans. This is because we're missing out on most nonverbal communication. Oh my god, here we go. Some researchers conclude that 70% of communication between humans is nonverbal, such as body language and tone of voice. Email doesn't allow us to express tones of voice or emotions. This is why we use tone tags, y'all. This is what tone markers are for. And people always make fun of tone markers and say that they're useless or silly or whatever. What do you think /s is for? We've had that forever on the internet. Why do you think people use it? And then people will go on long tirades or make like a half-hour video essay about why they don't like a particular tone tag. why they think it's silly, and that everybody should just read their mind about their tone through the text. It should be obvious to you what's a joke, you fucking autistic person. That's what they say to me, you know, like... Meanwhile, I'm constantly mistaking jokes for not jokes on the internet because nobody uses fucking tone tags. Anyway, that was a really good neck crack. That was a great one. Oh man, oh that was good. Anyway, virtual meetings. Let's see. Email doesn't allow us to express tones of voice or emotions, and telephones don't show us when people are frowning or smiling. Okay, like, once again, if you derive, like, any information, if you try to derive information from, like, my facial expressions, or my tone of voice, or my body language in general, you will fail miserably to correctly read me, okay? Just listen to what I'm saying. I say what I mean, unlike fucking allistic people. I actually just say what I mean, okay? I have that capability, okay? Allistic people, on the other hand, have a severe communication deficit that makes it so that they can't just say what they mean. They have to say something else that doesn't actually represent what they mean, but instead they apparently just somehow pretend that they can read everyone's mind, so that it doesn't matter what they say. You'll get across your ideas anyway, even if you don't actually communicate them effectively. That's what allistic people believe about themselves, okay? People with severe, people with profound allism will even perhaps tell you that they need a couple of copies of something made, and then you make them like 2 or 3 copies. I mean, a couple is 2. A couple means 2. Let's just be clear. A couple means 2. That's what the word couple means. But let's say you make a couple of copies. You make 2 copies for them because they asked for a couple of copies of it, and then they yelled at you because they wanted 20 copies. Anyway, please donate to my foundation, Allism Speaks, so that we can do genetic research on allistic people to find the sources and cure for profound allism. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. Right. Virtual meetings are often easier when people have already met each other in real life. Meeting up helps us get a picture of each other, helping us to trust, understand, and respect each other better. Meeting up face to face, at least occasionally, can really help keep communications on a human level. You should also put some time aside to check on how everyone is feeling at the start of any meeting, so people have a chance to reconnect to each other. You know what's really funny? You know what's really funny? Funny. It's not funny. It's depressing. But it's also extremely obvious to any autistic person that this is the case. But if you're an allistic person, there have been studies on this, okay? If you're interacting, communicating with an autistic person, what you should do, okay, the reason why you're having trouble interacting with us is because you have a communication deficit, remember? It's your fault. It's because you're not trying. No, unironically, actually, the way that you view us and treat us is the problem, okay? If you actually take some time to understand how we communicate and perhaps communicate with us in a similar way, guess what? We'll have a much easier time. Anyway. Developing clear shared aims. Oh boy, okay. Oh, let's see here. Oh, sorry, I forgot. Okay, you should also put some time aside to check on how everyone is feeling at the start of any meeting, so people have a chance to reconnect to each other. group therapy session for every meeting. Developing clear shared aims in your group will help all participants to focus in meetings as well as feel connected. Try to sort out common aims as soon as you can. This could be one thing you try to do as a group in one place, or failing that, use some of the collaborative software the internet sites to work together on them. You're not hard to read on stream, then again, you're not holistic. Exactly. Do you see the problem? I also have video of myself though, which helps. Oh wait. Okay, preparation. As with any meeting, preparation really makes a difference. If people aren't meeting face to face, it's probably even more important to think beforehand about what needs to be sorted out. Whatever technology you're using for your meetings, whether it's the Postal Service or super complicated multimedia collaboration software, it pays to have clear systems for your facilitation and decision making. As a facilitator, your first task will be to check the timescales for any decision making. If you're all going to be communicating in real time, such as on the phone, you have to check, or you have checked. God, I can't read it. Have you checked? The times of the day that participants can or can't do. Consider things like work, childcare, access to the internet, and time zones. If a meeting is to happen using non-real-time communication, such as email, let's see here, has a schedule been set for each stage of the discussion? Do people know when they should reply by? Has everyone got access to the hardware, computers, cameras, microphones, and software, internet browser, apps, or programs? Who doesn't have an internet browser? Hold on. Help. Are all the different versions of software being used compatible? One problem though is a shit ton of software only works on Chrome, websites. A shit ton of websites only work on Chrome, which is evil. Stop doing this. In response to this, every time I make a website, I'm gonna make sure it doesn't work on Chrome. It only works on Firefox. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm no longer developing for Chrome. If something doesn't work on Chrome, switch to Firefox. Sorry, I don't care. Just switch to Firefox to use my website. Since fucking developers keep forcing us to switch over to Chrome to use their websites, I might as well do it back. At the same time as you're agreeing meeting times or timescales, make sure that everyone has all the information they need to make the decision, or the agenda, minutes from previous meetings, information materials, etc. available to everyone. Real-time or non-real-time? Real-time communications happen when you and somebody else can immediately respond to what is being said, so the flow of conversation is faster. But if you have to wait for a response, then this is called non-real time. Although it's generally not as convenient to communicate in non-real time, it can allow people more time to think or for them to contribute at a more fitting time. You know what I like about this illustration here? She has a landline phone with the coiled cable. That's the best type of landline phone. None of that wireless shit. It better have a cable. It's even better if it's rotodial. Rotodial sounds like a Pokemon. Rotary dial. That's what I was looking for. I mean, it's the same thing. It's almost like Totodile. Okay, anyway. New version of Totodile, but it's a phone instead of a... Okay. Real-time or non-real-time. Real-time communications happen when you and somebody else can immediately respond to what is being said, so the flow of conversation is faster. But if you have to wait for a response, then this is called non-real-time. Although it's generally not as convenient to communicate in non-real time, it can allow people more time to think, or for them to contribute at a more fitting time. Facilitation styles. Facilitating virtual discussions in real time will often benefit from very clear facilitation, the kind that in a face-to-face meeting might feel over the top. Because we can't take visual cues from each other in the facilitator, it's easy for people to talk over each other and go off on tangents. Sorry, I'm just autistic, okay, God. By explicitly explaining what they are doing, the facilitator can help the group to understand where the discussion is at and when they should speak or type. Although in a normal face-to-face meeting, things like breaks, regular summaries, and clarity about the process are important, when you can't see each other, these things are perhaps even more important, but easier to forget about. So do plan in regular breaks. It can be more difficult to concentrate at a virtual meeting than at a real meeting. Split the meeting into sections if necessary. Summarize lots. It's so easy to lose the thread of an email or chat-based discussion. Mix your media. If you're using VoIP, post summaries on a wiki. This reminds everyone where things are in the discussion. Those tangents can add depth sometimes. Yeah, but autistic people don't appreciate it. Keep an eye open for people who aren't contributing. It's very easy to overlook quiet participants when you can't see them. Only discuss one thing at a time. If you are using a wiki, give each item its own page. On email, each item should have its own relevant and clear subject header. And if using real-time tools, take names of the people who wish to speak before the next person starts their contribution. You know what this reminds me of? Mao's dong. I'm kidding. I think that might be the #1 type of tangent I go on stream, is ranting about Mao for like 10 minutes before I realize we should probably get back to the actual stream. I'm sorry. Ah, boy. Pros and cons of different communications media. Real-time spoken communication. VoIP, phone conferences. Okay. Everyone is present at the meeting. Pros and cons. Possibly feels the most natural of all the communication tools. Absolutely not. Abso-fucking-lutely not. No way in hell. I cannot do phones, y'all. I cannot do phones, okay? The fucking audio on phones is so bad. I can't hear what anyone is saying. Can't understand them. I always have to ask them what the fuck they just said over and over again. Plus, I get super fucking nervous on phones for some reason. Okay, minutes need to be taken by a human. Phone and internet access can be expensive. Latency and echoing can be off-putting. Tips and troubleshooting. Before starting the meeting, remind participants not to put the call on hold if their phone has hold music or beeps. Alright, so I'm just saying, like, phones are one of the least accessible methods of communication for me. Like, oh my god, it's so bad. Anyway, real-time written typed communication. Chat. Everyone is present at the meeting. Okay. Pros and cons. Easy to use. Quite simple technology. People who can type faster tend to dominate the discussion. Alright, folks. I want you... we can't really do this because there's time delay between me and the stream and you actually seeing the stream. I was gonna ask people to type out that sentence as fast as they can. People who can type faster tend to dominate the discussion. Okay, everyone. Go. Oh god, I fucked up already. There, I did it. That was not very fast, was it? Y'all just found out that I can't type that fast. Is it just me, or did bad digital compression ruin it? Like the phone sounds? Okay, so yeah, I would say that phones, which sentence? The one that I just typed and put in chat. The one right here that I just read. People who can type faster tend to dominate the discussion. Oh boy. My grandma would fucking hate me right now. I keep burping. The phone sounds, yeah. So, I mean, she hates me because I'm trans, but she's also, God. How does this work? I'm trying to find it. Hold on a second. Oh my god, there's a snail on the thing. Where do I type? How does this work? How do I do? It's not working. I click start, nothing is working. Wait, what? No, go away. I'm trying to find a typing test. Practically in orbit with your delay for being in Romania. Ah, nice VPN. Okay. We're gonna take a 1 minute typing test, y'all. Ahem. Okay. At least it gives the open dyslexic font because I... Hold on. Let me move my keyboard. I have gotta put it in a much better position for typing. Okay. Oh, this is gonna suck. Y'all ready to... I'm gonna expose myself live here for being a very slow typer. Okay, here we go. What? Oh, it lagged. Fuck that. What? I typed on. Do I have to type enter? Oh my god. That doesn't make any sense. What? It's so laggy. Fuck. That's what's throwing me off, by the way. It like stops sometimes, even when I'm still typing. Fuck, this is so bad. Fuck, I typed the wrong... Ah. "47 words per minute, I'm gonna die." That was really bad. Holy shit, y'all. That was embarrassing. Okay. I'm sorry, my fingers don't work very well these days. Why do you think I have the compression glove on? God. Okay. Make a time limit on posts and allow it to maybe be long. Having to type enter reads it's like people who type a dot and then 2 spaces. Oh, let me explain why people type a dot and then 2 spaces. Or, well, okay, some people think that you're supposed to use 2 spaces between sentences, but also on mobile keyboards, the period is usually right next to the space bar. So some people will accidentally hit the space bar when they meant to hit a period, or they hit the period and space bar at the same time, and then they hit a space bar after it, so it ends up 2 spaces, or they just hit 2 space bars because they meant to hit a period and then a space bar, but they just hit 2 space bars. So instead of a period at the end of the sentence, you have 2 spaces, but nothing else. Anyway, that's a mobile keyboard thing. But yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I was actually taught that I'm supposed to put 2 spaces after the end of a sentence, after the punctuation. It's very silly. Please do not do that. It's very annoying. But no, the actual problem with that typing test is that it kept lagging. It would like stop. I couldn't see what I was doing. I couldn't see where I was because it would stop even though I was still typing. And then it would all pop up what I just typed. Anyway, but 47 words per minute is still embarrassingly bad. 2 space bars makes a period on most mobile keyboards. That's really funny. Mine doesn't do that. I maybe have to turn that on. That's funny. They took a really common mobile typo and they were just like, well, we can't fix this in any way, so we're just gonna cheat. You know, well, if there's 2 spaces, you put a period. Which that's annoying because what if I want to type 2 spaces? What if I actually want to type 2 spaces? Is it just going to put a bunch of periods now? It's going to be annoying. Okay, anyway. Collaborative editors, whether or not used in real time. Everyone present at the meeting or looking at the discussion when it's there. Okay. Pros and cons. Most collaborative software includes a chat client, useful for instant feedback or to discuss wording. Easy to save discussions, so no need to keep minutes. Hard to watch out for quiet participants. Now my hand is sore from typing for 1 minute. Oh my god, it's not that bad. Typing usually doesn't actually hurt my hand. It's like writing that hurts my hand, mostly. And other things. Anyway, non-real-time written communication. Email lists, forums, wiki, blogging, text, SMS, post. No need for people to be present at the meeting. Okay. Pros and cons. Allows for a deeper debate since people have more time to think about their answers. There's more time to identify the best proposals and ideas. Leaves a record which is relatively easy to search through at a later stage. I bet if you use Gboard, it has that feature. I actually do use Gboard. I know. I have all the telemetry turned off, okay? God. Leaves a record which is relatively easy to search through at a later stage. One of the reasons I use Gboard is the customizability, okay? And also because I can get more languages on it than, like, just by default on my phone. Anyway. Alright, let's see here. Leaves a record which is relatively easy to search through at a later stage. The actual time each person is involved in the discussion can be shorter than in face-to-face or internet chat typing meeting. Easy to exchange information such as agendas and background info and more complex thoughts. Right. Cons. People who have more time and access to the internet may dominate the flow of the discussion. Decisions can take longer to reach because of high latency. Easy for important and relevant bits to get lost in a sea of words. Although a facilitator can help with regular and clear summaries. Tips and troubleshooting. Contributions can be sent to the facilitator who sends a digest on a regular basis. That way inboxes don't fill up so rapidly. The facilitator can send out summary messages every so often, including summaries of the discussion and any proposals or decisions. This makes it easier for people to catch up if they've been away from the discussion or don't have much time. The facilitator should set a deadline for replies, but first consider people's availability and access to the internet and ensure everyone will get a chance to participate in the discussion. In order to keep things moving, you may agree that if people don't respond to proposals by set deadlines, then it will be assumed they are in agreement. For important decisions, the facilitator should check in with everyone who hasn't explicitly responded to confirm agreement, stand-asides, or whether they were just weren't able to get to a computer. Example chat meeting. Oh boy. An illustration of how a virtual meeting might be facilitated. Let me see. Two spaces works, or maybe it's fun to play with. Okay. When backspace yields a space, and a space after that just works. Oh my god. I often want to use several spaces just for like formatting to make something far away. So it'd be really annoying for me. Anyway, an example chat meeting, okay, y'all? Facilitator. Okay, let's start. Just to recap the hand signals we're using. If you want to speak, put your hand up by typing H. Okay. If you have a direct point, use HH for two hands. Facilitator said, okay, I'll let you know when it's your turn to speak. Remember to type E for end when you've finished. So let's start. The first point on the agenda is agreeing on the location for the Skillshare weekend. No, don't say Skillshare. Fuck, now I'm gonna get... God damn it. This stream is not sponsored by Skillshare. Fuck Skillshare. Fuck Skillshare for sponsoring so many goddamn YouTubers. Putting their ads in all people's fucking videos. Annoying. Hand signals, this could get weird. It's like it's a replacement for hand signals is what it is, right? It's kind of like, it's just a little thing you put at the end of your... Okay, anyway. Tom says H. Nancy says HH. Marianne says H. Oh god. Marianne Williamson is here. Skillshare, the company, stole their name from anarchists. Oh god. A facilitator says, Nancy, I see you have a direct response. Then Tom and Marianne. E to end. Nancy says, I've spoken to all the people who are planning to come. Can we ensure the place is accessible and child-friendly? Nancy, have you finished? Please remember to put an E when you've finished. E. Over. Oh my god. Copy. Nancy, do you copy? Over. What if the caption... For captions, if text is clogged with hand signals? Oh my god. Oh my god. The place I know is not accessible. E. Sarah. H. Facilitator. Marianne, then Sarah. E. Case study. Virtual meetings in practice. The International Women's Peace Service is an organization that is run by volunteers coming from all around the world. Meetings and decisions are made over the internet and the phone. In this way, you know what would be even worse? Using emojis. Oh no. Oh no. Please don't make people do that. Please don't make me use emojis. I'm not doing that. Anyway, meetings and decisions are made over the internet and on the phone. In this way, the internet and the phone becomes the office where thinking, discussions, and decisions are made and implemented. Most decisions are made by email. A new email thread with the information is sent out when anything comes up, asking for people's thoughts and reactions. The person who sends out the email facilitates the discussion until a decision is made. I can tell that the International Women's Peace Service doesn't do anything that would be against any government ever in any meaningful way because they do all their shit over phone and email. I'm just saying. They obviously don't care about people like seeing all of their communications, because if they did, they wouldn't do it like that. When strategic or urgent core issues come up, then a meeting is held. Meetings are held on real-time written collaborative tools because of their user-friendliness. Right, so owned by like who? What company runs that shit? 2 people volunteer to facilitate and take minutes. Those who cannot attend the meeting email their views in advance to the rest of the group. If the meeting takes too long, the issue is passed back to the relevant working group, who continue discussing through email until a proposal is reached. Since volunteers come from different continents, finding a time that works for everyone proves to be tricky. Using non-real-time tools allows everyone the flexibility to take in information and respond to it in their own good time. In cases of emergency or people not having regular internet access, the facilitator uses the phone to get feedback and passes that on to the rest of the group by email. All decisions made are saved onto a wiki, which serves as a filing system, including policies that were agreed upon and how-to documents that explain the decision process and facilitation tools, and communication tools used. A consensus process for virtual meetings. Oh boy, here we go. Step 1. Introduce the issue at least the day before, but more time is better. Share background info, policy, previous decisions, etc. Work out what these questions are, for example, on a wiki. Step 2. Explore the issues and look for ideas. Use any media your group feels comfortable with for this step. 1. Gather initial thoughts and reactions. What are the issues and people's concerns? 2. Collect ideas for solving the problem. Write them down. 3. Have a broad-ranging discussion and debate the ideas. What are the pros and cons? Start thinking about solutions to people's concerns. Eliminate some ideas, shortlist others. Step 3. Ideas, collect and summarize. Okay, publish the ideas, summarize and synthesize as necessary. For example, by email or on a wiki. Step 4. Discuss pros and cons of the ideas. Okay. Step 5. Facilitator summarizes, asks for proposals, synthesizes, combines proposals as necessary. Look for a proposal that weaves together the best elements of the ideas discussed. Look for solutions that address people's key concerns. Step 6. Proposals published, amendments invited and discussed. Ensure that concerns are heard and everyone has a chance to contribute. Seek feedback from all participants. Look for amendments which make the proposal even more acceptable to the group. Step 7. Test for agreement. If no agreement, go back to Step 4. Do you have an agreement? Or do you have agreement? Check for the following. Blocks. There is a fundamental problem with the core of the proposal that has not been resolved. We need to look for a new proposal. Stand-asides. I can't support this proposal because ... but I don't want to stop the group, so I'll let the decision happen without me. Reservations. I'll have some reservations, but I'm willing to let the proposal pass. Agreement. I support the proposal and I'm willing to implement it. And then we have consensus. If there are no blocks, not too many stand-asides or reservations, and we all have active agreement, then we have a decision. Then implement the decision. Okay. Chapter 5. Quick consensus decision making. So what do we do when we need to make a decision fast? In dynamic situations such as actions and protests, people may only have at most a few minutes to decide what to do. There are shortcuts to reaching consensus quickly in such situations, but it takes preparation and practice to do well. Nevertheless, quick consensus is worth trying out because it's a way of making the best decisions you can in the short term or in a short time you have. If done well, it ensures that everyone actively agrees to the decisions taken and bears equal responsibility for the consequences. Preparing for quick consensus. Quick consensus works best in groups that know each other well, work together, and are committed to using consensus. The key to quick consensus is to skip the discussion stage of the decision-making process and move straight from introducing the issue to checking agreement on a proposal. But since the discussion stage is the most important part of the decision-making process, it can only work if your group takes the time in advance to explore each other's needs and likely reactions in the situations you might meet. In effect, this is like having the discussion stage of the usual consensus process in advance. The better people in your group know each other, the more likely it is that you'll be able to anticipate what is likely to work for everyone in a given situation. You can start by thinking up the likely scenarios, e.g. you might find yourselves needing to decide quickly whether to stay in a demo that is turning violent. Alright y'all, what do we do if the RCP people show up and start throwing Molotovs at our peaceful demonstration? What do we do if we have, like, there's a couple of guys showing up to recruit for their little Trotskyist group or some shit? What do we do if people show up and try to co-opt the demo? Wait. Punch them in the face. I can't say that. That was a joke. Okay, Twitch God, this is a joke. Discuss these scenarios in depth with your group, then have a few practice quick consensus decisions. Give yourselves a time limit to come to a decision on relevant scenarios, e.g., you're taking part in a march, the police have given you 2 minutes to get out of the road, or they'll arrest you all. What do? Fuck the police. If a group is newly formed, or there's not much time before the situation in which you might need to use quick consensus, then it's definitely worth prioritizing getting to know each other and sharing information and feelings. Preparation tips. It's pretty much essential for everyone in your group to share in advance how they feel about the different situations that may happen. Think about how accurately you can guess likely behavior in various situations. What might affect your behavior? What makes you stressed or chilled? Is there anything people in the group should know about you? For example, if you're asthmatic and react badly to tear gas, you get aggressive easily if you see police mistreating someone or you get freaked out in chaotic situations. If you think you may be in a situation where quick consensus may not work, for example, you won't have any time at all to make a decision, or you haven't been able to do the right preparation, then your group should think in advance about other ways of making decisions, whether that's following a particular person's lead or a prearranged general plan. Who's the facilitator? Since efficiency is one of the keys to quick consensus, it's sensible to agree on a facilitator prior to going into any situation. There are lots of ways to choose your facilitator. They may be the person with the most relevant experience in that situation, or perhaps the person who is most alert on the day. How it works. The following approach assumes you have only a minimal amount of time to make a decision. If you have a bit more time, then you may wish to include some discussion, but the facilitator will have to decide at the time. When you need to make a decision quickly, it is the role of the facilitator to summarize all that has happened and clarify the decision that needs to be made. After the summary, move straight on to making just one proposal. If the group is considering more than one proposal, then it will take time to discuss which to use, or how to synthesize the various elements. By having just one proposal at a time, you can keep the process simple and quick. Once everyone has understood the current proposal, check first whether anyone is blocking it. If it is blocked, then move on to another proposal immediately, rather than spending time on discussing the block. On the other hand, if you hit upon a proposal that will work, then simply go with that. If there's time, check for stand-asides. If stand-asides happen, then you can ask for amendments to improve the proposal, which might help everyone to feel comfortable with the proposal in its entirety. The facilitator's role is then to move the discussion on to implementing the decision. Outline of quick consensus. 1. Appoint a facilitator in advance. 2. The facilitator briefly states the situation to make sure everyone is clear. We've been given 2 minutes to move off the road or we'll all be arrested. 3. The facilitator asks for proposals. In some cases there may be time for discussion, but in others there won't be. It's up to the facilitator to assess the time and act appropriately. 4. Someone makes a proposal. Yeah, I propose we link arms and sit down. In some cases you might have time to make amendments to the proposal. Facilitator restates the proposal for clarity and then tests for consensus. It's proposed that we sit on the road and link arms. Any blocks? Okay, look. I have an amendment. All of the white cis dudes in the group can do that, and everyone else can leave, so we don't have to be arrested. This is your time, guys. This is your job. 5. Facilitator restates the proposal for clarity and then tests for consensus. It's proposed that we sit in the road and link arms. Any blocks? No. Any stand asides? Yeah, I'll lose my job. I don't want to, or I want to leave. Exactly. Okay, anyone willing to go with Joe? Yes, I will. Okay, we're agreed. 6. Make sure everyone knows who's doing what, and then get on and do it. We have a very small flowchart here. Facilitator summarizes the situation and clarifies the decision that needs to be made. We have first proposal. Any blocks? If there are, make a counter proposal. If not, check for stand asides and amendments, and then do we have agreement? Blah blah blah. Okay, good. Blah blah blah. Okay, blocks and stand asides. Cis white neurotypical guys. Yeah, that's your moment. Yeah, exactly. Come on to the front. This is your job. You're the least likely to be harmed in a major way when you get arrested. I'm just saying. Blocks and stand asides. As with the usual consensus processes, there is a difference between blocks and stand asides. Just you know, all the, specifically the abled ones. Just gotta make that clear. Please don't wield the guy with. Please do not do that. Guy in a wheelchair. All right, here you go. Just sitting in front of the cops. Do not do that. I will. What I would do to a person who does that is illegal for me to express, at least on Twitch. Anyway, cops are notorious for attacking people in wheelchairs who don't get back onto the sidewalk fast enough or whatever. I'm just saying, don't do that. Get them out of there. Pre-arrange. Okay, if the cops are going at us, get anyone with mobility aids out. Big priority there. Just saying. Anyway, as with the usual consensus processes, there is a difference between blocks and stand asides. Blocks are more likely to happen in quick consensus because the group hasn't had time to explore where people are on the decision. A stand aside means, I won't do this, but I'm okay if the rest of the group does it. This allows the proposal to go ahead in the group's name, but those that choose to stand aside take no part in that action. A block kills a proposal. It's a total veto. Everyone has the right to block. It means I don't want the group to do this. In quick consensus, people normally block for 2 reasons. 1, a proposal will split the group, often because some people have an ethical objection to it, or because it might endanger someone's safety, or the group is failing to make a decision and the discussion is taking time. The whole point of quick consensus is that it's quick, so you may find one participant blocking so that a new proposal can be considered. If a proposal is blocked, you need a new one. Some groups insist that in quick consensus, you must have a counter proposal before you can block. Guidelines for quick decision making. Should we be reading this really fast? Some tips to help make quick consensus work. I can't actually read fast, I'm sorry. Active agreement. Consciously, my brain, okay. Consciously participating in the decision. And showing agreement. For example, by using hand signals. If there isn't active agreement, you need to ask, is there really any energy for this idea? One voice at a time avoids discussion descending into chaos. Hand signals. A number of hand gestures can speed up the process of decision-making. For them to be effective, everyone in the group must know them, so agree to them in advance. You want to minimize the number of hand signals you use and pare it down to essentials. For example, raise a finger for someone wanting to speak. Hands waving with fingers upward. I support the idea currently being discussed, or I agree. And fist. I block the proposal. Fist. Punch everyone in the face to block the proposal. No. This means agree, okay, apparently. This is agree, okay. This is blocking. I think this is blocking. I don't know. It could be whatever you decide on. It doesn't have to be those things specifically. You don't have to use both hands, by the way. You can just use one. That's fine. Look, see, this person's only using one hand. They're sitting the way that I would sit. All sideways and shit. Anyway. Chapter 6, Facilitation Techniques and Activities. Oh, okay. We're finally to Chapter 6, where they're going to explain all of the names of the different things that they've been telling us about before. This is a compilation of techniques and activities for facilitating consensus and participatory meetings. They are categorized according to when in the meeting you might want to use them, at the start, during the discussion, at the end, or in the middle to re-energize people. However, many of them can also be useful in other contexts. Occupy liberalism. God. Some general guidelines for using these tools. I mean, they have pointed out some of the failures of Occupy in this little booklet a couple of times already. It's kind of low-hanging fruit these days, you know. Everyone can just point out all sorts of things that went wrong with Occupy. Alright, every group is different. Some tools may not be appropriate in a specific group or situation. Don't force a tool on a group or an individual, but let people decide for themselves to what extent they want to participate. Be flexible. Or do we have to be flexible? Everyone, it's time to stretch, okay? Flex, okay. Okay, shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. All right. All right, we're flexible. Don't let your choice of tool dictate what happens, but fit and adapt the tools to the needs of the group. Be creative and invent your own tools. Don't be too flexible, though. Don't dislocate your shoulder or something. Don't do that. Use visual aids such as flip charts and whiteboards. Use them to write down instructions, questions, and responses. Confidentiality. Be aware that people might be aware that people might not be happy to share everything that was said in a pair or a small group with all the people in the room. Explain the purpose of a tool before asking the group to use it. That way people feel in control of what they are doing, allowing them to participate more fully. Starting the meeting. Giving participants a chance at the start of the meeting, or a meeting to get to know each other, find out how everyone is feeling, and set out the basics for how the meeting will run. All help to build a rapport. This can really help ensure a positive flow and atmosphere in a meeting. The following techniques can be used at the beginning of the meeting to create an open, trusting atmosphere and for developing a respectful meeting culture. Help people to get to know each other and build trust. Successful consensus decision-making is based on trust between people involved. Trust takes time to build, and a big part of it is getting to know each other. This involves devoting some time to find out what is going on in people's lives, talking about events that have shaped us, sharing how we are feeling and what's important to us. There are lots of different ways of doing this, and we mentioned just a few common techniques in this chapter. You can find lots more activities on the internet by searching for trust building exercises. All right, everyone, we're gonna do trust falls. All right, everyone. Maybe not so literal with the trust building exercises. Gonna jump into a bunch of people and they're gonna catch you. Okay. Stage dives. A simple and effective step is to ask people to introduce themselves at the beginning of each meeting. Oh no. You can do this in the whole group by asking everyone to take turns to give their name and some other information. For example, where they are from, what kind of food they like. Oh my god, not this shit. Why they are at the meeting, or something good that happened in the last week, etc. I hate that. I hate that. I don't think I can do that. Oh my god. Alternatively, you could ask people to pair up with someone they don't know or know less well. That's a bit better. One person interviews the other for 3 minutes. 3 whole minutes. Oh my god. I'm gonna die. Then roles are swapped. Questions can include the reasons why the person is there. Why are you here? Oh my god. And what they are hoping to learn or achieve during the meeting. When the whole group reforms, the pairs introduce each other, giving as much detail as they can remember. The facilitator could also suggest specific themes to be included in the interview. Getting present. Often people bring a lot of external stresses and emotions to meetings. It is very helpful to make time for people to arrive, to share how they are feeling in general and help them focus on the meeting. One way of doing this is to ask each person in turn to share concerns, distractions, and events that are on their mind. Ask everyone else to give their full attention to the speaker. Oh god. For example, I'm giving a presentation this afternoon and I feel nervous. My daughter had a baby last week. It's my first grandchild. As facilitator, you can help people if they appear stuck by asking questions such as, is there any action you want to take? Is there anything else you want to say about that? A variation on this is to ask people to share something good or exciting that has happened to them recently or since the last meeting. Both techniques also help build trust and understanding by putting people more in touch with each other's lives. Drawing up a group agreement. It can be very useful to start your meeting by negotiating a group agreement. The aim of a group agreement is to create a safe and respectful space in which people can work together productively. It sets the tone for how people will behave in the meeting. Alright, chat, how are we going to behave? Can we come up with a chat agreement right now? Okay. Making an agreement together as a group about how people should behave in the meeting is far more empowering than having a facilitator set out rules for everyone to follow. People are much more likely to respect and implement such an agreement, and it will make the facilitator's job much easier. I have a rule for how we should behave in the meeting. If we find out that anyone is a TERF, we kick them the fuck out. When problems arise, facilitators can refer back to this agreement. For example, we all agreed at the beginning that it's best if only one person speaks at a time. We all agreed at the beginning that we punch any TERFs in the room. Remember, chat. How to create a group agreement. There are lots of ways to create group agreements. How much time you spend on it will depend on whether the group will be working together in the longer term. How controversial the topic of the meeting is, how much time you have, and what level of trust the group have in the facilitator. Start by asking everyone to think about what things would make this group meeting work, or group/meeting work well for you, or what makes this a safe and respectful place for us to work in. People can respond by calling out points to be written up on flip chart paper, or they could write comments on pieces of paper and group them together on the wall. Alternatively, people could talk about the question in pairs or small groups and feed this back to the whole group. Once a list of suggested points has been compiled, the facilitator should, if necessary, ask for clarification on points and discuss how it can be turned into practical ways of working. For example, it's okay to disagree. It's not okay to disagree, chat. Can't disagree with me in chat. It's against my rules. I'm kidding. How would this work practically? It wouldn't. No. Everyone has to agree. No. What about adding by challenging what a person says, not by attacking the persons themselves? Confidentiality. What do people understand by that? What level of confidentiality do you expect from the group? Finally, the facilitator needs to check for agreement on all the points from the whole group. Oh no, I just keep saying oh no at this point. It's good to make sure it's on display for all to see, written up on a whiteboard, flip chart paper, or overhead projector. If there's not enough time for this process, a facilitator could propose a group agreement such as the one in the sidebar, then seek additions, amendments, and then agreement. Here's the sample group agreement. Make sure everyone is able to contribute. More talkative people show a little restraint. Quieter people, your contributions are very welcome. Only one person speaks at a time. Put up your hand if you want to speak and wait for your turn. Before each in-person meeting, everyone takes a COVID test. Please just wear masks. We all got. If you're going to a big meeting, come on. But also, yeah, maybe. Respect each other's opinions, even and especially if you don't agree with them. Participate! Exclamation mark. Swab as a dagger. No. They don't. They have tests that aren't stabbing you in the schnoz with a schwab. God. Confidentiality. Some things shouldn't be repeated outside this meeting. 6. Be conscious of time. Help stick to it or negotiate for more. Mobilize phones. Mobile phones off to minimize disruptions. Regular breaks. Active agreement. Everyone to actively signal their opinion on any given issue. Okay. Regulating the flow of the meeting. Using hand signals. Hand signals can make meetings run more smoothly and help the facilitator see emerging agreements. Okay, everyone learn sign language. Just this. At this point, why not? 3 simple signals should suffice. Raise a hand when you wish to contribute to the discussion with a general point. Wait until it is your turn to speak. Does it matter what... What are we doing? Sorry. Are we raising our hand with this or with this, or what are we doing? Raise both hands if you want to add directly relevant factual information, which people need to hear before other points. What do you do if you only have one hand? This allows you to jump to the head of the queue. Examples of appropriate use include providing a factual correction or answering a factual question. For example, shall we get the bus at 10 or 11 tomorrow? A direct response would be, the buses are on strike tomorrow. Or possibly, the 11 o'clock bus arrives after the film starts. But not. Personally, I'd prefer to get there a bit earlier because... ... In other words, the direct response doesn't give you the right to jump the queue to have your say on the discussion topic. Silent applause. When you hear an opinion that you agree with, wave a hand with your fingers pointing upwards. This saves a lot of time since it allows the facilitators to gauge opinion and people don't need to chip in and say, I'd just like to add that I agree with ... Which hands? Both? One hand. Wave a hand, it says. With your fingers pointing... Oh, you can't just do this. With your fingers pointing upwards. This is a lot harder than doing this. Just do this, y'all. It's easier. This is more difficult. Keeping a speaker's list. You're used in conjunction with hand signals, see above. It simply involves asking the people to raise a hand when they wish to speak, and noting them down in order. They are then invited to speak in that order. The group will soon become impatient with people that ignore this protocol and just barge in and interrupt. Talking stick. I prefer a rock, but a stick works too. People may speak only when they hold the talking stick, or any other agreed option. I agree. My preferred object is a rock. This is a small rock. It's also a nice amethyst crystal cluster. Sparkly. Anyway, find a nice rock. I like a good chunky rock for this. This allows the person holding the stick to consider, or a knife. Throw it at the next person. This allows the person holding the stick to consider and take their time in voicing their views. It also helps make people conscious of when they interrupt others. I just use an airsoft gun. If anyone interrupts you, you can shoot them with it. Okay, maybe a Nerf gun. Fine. Parking space. When something comes up that's not relevant to the discussion at hand, park it in the parking space, a whiteboard or a large sheet of paper on the wall, and deal with it at an appropriate time later. This allows you to stay focused but reassures participants they will be heard. Make sure that you allow time on the meeting agenda to deal with parked items so that they don't just get forgotten. Let's see here. How long is this section? 2 pages. Okay, or 3 pages. We can do 3 pages. Encouraging involvement. Our life experiences, personalities, and cultural expectations influence how we participate in meetings. Some people will be more confident and able to voice their opinions, ideas, and needs than others, which can lead to an imbalance in meetings. There are many ways in which we can encourage quieter people to get involved in the discussion. Below are a few techniques that are often used in consensus-based meetings and have proved themselves well as ways to increase participation. Go-rounds. Go-rounds can be used in many situations, for an initial gathering of opinions and ideas, to find out people's feelings, to slow down the discussion, and help improve listening. In a go-round, everyone takes a turn to speak without interruption or comment from other people. Make sure that everyone gets the chance to speak. Allowing people to pass means that no one feels put on the spot. It helps to establish clearly what the purpose or question of the go-round is. It may help to write it on a large sheet of paper for everyone to see. If your aim is to give everyone an equal say, you can set a time limit for each person. If your primary concern is to air the issue, it may be better to let people speak for as long as they want. Idea storming. This is a useful technique for quickly gathering a large number of ideas. It encourages creativity and free thinking. Start by stating the issue. Ask people to say whatever. This is just Maoism, by the way. No. Hold on. Large numbers of ideas, encouraging creativity and free thinking. Let 1,000, 100, however many flowers bloom. I'm just saying. Maoism right here. Start by stating the issue. Ask people to say whatever comes into their heads as fast as possible, without censoring or discussion. This helps people to be inspired by each other's ideas. Make sure there is no discussion or comment on others' ideas. Be especially vigilant about put-downs or other derogatory remarks. Structured thinking and organizing come afterwards. You know, the other day on Facebook, I saw that John liked to post about Steven Universe. I don't think he should be here. I don't think we should work with him anymore. Sorry. We can't do that, apparently. Damn. Okay. Appoint 1 or 2 note takers to write down all the ideas where everyone can see them. Once you have your ideas, then you can start looking through the results. You may need to prioritize from many options generated by the idea storm. See below for ways of doing this. Oh boy. Idea storm variation, or roving idea storm, is a useful variation that gets the group physically moving. Oh dear lord. Stop it. Stop it. Don't make me do that. It also allows you to think about several different but related issues at once. Small groups each start at a different station, a tabletop or wall space with a sheet of flip chart paper on it, and have a short idea storm on that station's topic. You call time, and then they move around the other stations, idea storming as they go. God. A short, well-enforced time limit will keep the small groups moving and make this a dynamic experience. Ask people to express their points clearly and to write legibly. Finish either with a group discussion or by sending groups back around the stations so they can read what other groups have added to the lists. Splitting into small groups or pairs. There are lots of reasons to split into smaller groups for a discussion or a task. It can sometimes become difficult to discuss emotionally charged issues in a large group, or a large group may become dominated by a few people or ideas, stifling creativity and contributions from others. Apart from these examples, many topics can be discussed more effectively in a smaller task group and need not involve everyone. For example, the details of laying out the newsletter or organizing the benefit cake. Smaller groups allow time for everyone to speak and to feel involved. They are a lot less intimidating and can provide a much more supportive atmosphere in which less assertive people feel more confident in expressing themselves. Think about the sort of group you need, a random split, for example, numbering off over specific interest groups. Explain clearly what you want groups to do. Write up the task where people can see it. If you want feedback at the end, ensure each group appoints a note taker to report back and state what they need to feedback. You can also ask people to split into pairs. You know, the wheel on this chair looks a little thin. I don't know. That doesn't look super grabbable to me. That looks a bit hard to... It looks like a hospital chair almost. It's similar enough. The back looks kind of... I don't know. It looks a bit clunky to me. Listening in pairs. The technique creates a space. I've spent a lot of time in hospital wheelchairs. Okay. I know them when I see them. That one could be a little bit in between, but still. Listening in pairs. This technique creates a space where people can explore and formulate their own thoughts and feelings on an issue without interruption. It helps people to gather and consolidate their thoughts both at the beginning of and during the consensus process. It can also help to uncover and resolve conflict. In pairs, one person is the listener, the other speaks about their own thoughts and feelings on the issue. The listener gives full attention to their partner without interrupting. The listener can provide a supportive atmosphere through eye contact and body language, oh boy. And if the speaker gets stuck, may ask neutral questions such as, how do you feel about that? What do you think about that? Why do you sound like a stereotypical therapist? And how did that make you feel? After a set time, swap roles within the pairs. This exercise can be followed by a go-round in the full group, with every person summarizing the thoughts of their partner. Throwing questions back to the group. There's no need for facilitators to feel they have to deal with every problem that comes up in the meeting. When possible, let the group do the work. If someone asks a question, the facilitator doesn't have to answer it, but can throw it back to the group. So we've had a suggestion that we break out around 3 o'clock. What do you people think about that? Okay. Perfect timing. We've just reached our 2 hours, and we're almost halfway through the book, so we're making good progress. All right.